Cyber Weekly. Cyber Weekly is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity and all matters related to cyber. And I'm glad you made it. Josephine, how is your morning?
It's good, thank you, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Today we've twisted the thing slightly, so you'll be the one interviewing me.
I'm looking forward. I've been on the other side, so now today, yeah, I'm looking forward to
I'm feeling sorry for myself already.
it. All right. So Dale, today we're going to look at the attack on African countries by Iranian threat groups. And you know that recently we had the reference we have for today is for the source of the attack is Muddy Waters. I think we will share the links to the articles, um, as well as a technical deep dive. All the links that are related to that are fine. So, in brief, Dale, can you tell us about the recent attack by Muddy Water on African countries?
So, first of all, thank you for that introduction. When it comes to Muddy Water and African countries, uh, first of all, the attack is entirely based on Egypt. Egypt was one of the countries which they attacked. And how did they attack them? They used different techniques to handle such an attack that they found that clearly they were able to, access those networks, and Semantic documented it clearly about how the attack occurred and the all that information concerning the attack was well documented. How did it occur? And
Perhaps
they
before you go into the detail, just give us. I should have asked this first. Just tell us a little bit more about this group, Muddy Water.
So Muddy Water is an Iranian group which is associated to the Ministry of Intelligence in Iran, and this group has dealt with so many attacks, especially in the Middle East, to the point that it's now tracked by MITRE attack framework, which is basically documents all the attacks, the vectors, and all that. So it's a very important tool. We'll include it also in the show notes. So this attack group is associated with multiple names, which is one of them being Seedworm, and definitely the Muddy Water. And in its grouping on MITRE, it's the number is G0069. So that's how they keep track of it. So I guess that's it for information concerning Muddy Water.
Okay. So you're going to provide more detail on this latest attack.
So details on the latest attack, basically what happened was this group was using different techniques, which were, first of all, they attack you, then they make sure that they are able to access your system over and over again. So meaning that even if you shut down your machine, they'll still be able to access that machine of yours constantly to keep on maintaining their access to your network. But according to the reports, it seems like they didn't really much affect like there was no visible claims that information was taken. But with hacks, a good example would be like the one for LastPass. So when they hacked that password vault, initially people were like, nothing much. Then after a few months, something happened. We hear that this amount of information was leaked. Then later on, you see something else like that. So this is not going to be any different to some point, because as you continue, as the story unfolds, you start to find out more information about the particular incident and how information was compromised.
Yeah. So what tools? I know you said that they attack and they sit on your system for a while, but how do they actually penetrate? How do they get into your systems? What are they using?
That's a wonderful question. Now, for these muddy waters, they actually are using a new tool which Semantic found out, which was Muddy C2 Go. But as they tracked it, they actually found that it has actually been there since 2020. And this incident happened in November of this year, which is 2023. So Muddy C2 Go is a PowerShell tool. As you know, PowerShell is one of those Windows tools which is already available in the operating system, which is used by anyone who uses Windows, whether directly or indirectly. PowerShell is used on Windows machines. So it is PowerShell itself cannot. It's always there on Windows. So for you to use Windows is actually you actually need to have PowerShell. So they leverage this thing which you can't remove from your machine. So that's how they're able to come up with this. So this is the first initial vector which they used for the attack. Then they followed by using Simple Help. Simple Help is basically a tool which allows someone to remotely access a computer. Can maybe more of like a remote desktop, which is for remotely connecting to another machine. So Simple Help does the same thing. And the fun fact about it again is it maintains access, meaning that even if you shut down your machine, it will still be available, and meaning that you will be able to still come back to that very spot. So even if they attack you, even if you switch off your machine, they'll still be able to maintain their access on your machine. So that's where the Simple Help came in. Then they followed by using a tool called Venom Proxy. Now with Venom Proxy, it allows, with networks, there is the external network, then there is the intranet. Now the intranet is what the organization uses privately, and it's not accessible anyhow. So with Venom Proxy, it allows you to be able to access that organization's information, that one which is internal, which means that you can easily move from one machine to the other, because most of the times there's protection from NICE, the firewall, that please, if someone is from the external network, he's not able to perform some particular action. Now, the Venom Proxy just changes the whole dynamics, meaning that someone is able to actually access your machine from the outside. Yes, I guess that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, but what is concerning then is for listeners is it looks as if there's nothing that can stop this from happening. But perhaps can you explain, are these tools exploiting existing vulnerabilities, or is it something that that you have to do on this side to enable these that compromises your systems to enable these tools to attack you, or just to understand how they're able to exploit these, like the PowerShell or what have you, to enable to enter your system?
Well, this may be more of an act of social engineering, because definitely there's no way of them just obviously just going into your network and start remotely accessing it. So they've already done their traversals and they've already gone through your network, or they got someone who is vulnerable and they use the person's credentials. And with that, remember, this is all happening and you don't know about it. So the person goes into your network and now starts doing this stuff. So that's where these tools now come in. But it's usually social engineering, which is the first way they are able to access your network.
Okay. All right, that's understood. Okay, so you said this is Iranian based. These are Iranian threat actors, right? Which industry are they targeting in this attack?
Well, they've found that the biggest backbone, especially when it comes to many countries, is the telecommunication companies. So their major target has always been telecommunication companies. Especially if you go deep down into like the way Mike has explained it, you find that their major area of attack is the telecommunication companies. So telecommunication companies should actually be aware of them and take necessary precautions to stop them from these kinds of attacks.
Yeah. So in the opening, we talked about the attack on African countries. But perhaps you can tell us which countries have been affected so far. And I know you did mention also that they were targeting the Middle East countries as well. You mentioned Egypt, I think. But can you tell us what other countries are being affected so far?
Well, so the countries which have affected in Africa basically is Egypt, Tanzania, and South Sudan. Those are the areas that have affected the most, and clearly this has been an issue which needs to be addressed, because we are not sure what is going to happen next. And the fact that the report is of recent, we need to take the necessary precautions. Though, since it's not a new group, because if you read about them, they've been there since no. They speculate that it's perhaps in 2017 when they came up. So they have been running the games in the Middle East and causing a lot of havoc that side. So when you even read the reports, you find that this attack on these African countries have been documented as one of the first to happen. Yes.
Okay. And presumably it's still very much, you said the telcos, right? The
Still
targeting
very
telcos.
much.
So even within these countries that you've mentioned, this is still telcos.
Yeah, it's still telcos mostly.
Okay. Okay. And has there been data on what the loss has been to these telcos when the attacks happen?
Well, they are more of like these Chinese threat actors. So one thing about them is their major aim is for spying. So when they get this information, they use it for leveraging that to advance their needs, since it's also a government threat act. So yeah, specifically their major area of concern is basically spying on people and countries. And the best way of spying is through the telcos, which have a plethora of information concerning peoples of the country. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think So just to confirm, then you said this is probably the attacks have been mostly social engineering. Is there anything else that we should know about about these attacks, and what else are they? What other types of attacks are there? It's just social engineering.
The using of these tools to, leverage, uh, because there's also this option of actually using tracking your web access and all that. But still, if you're tracking someone's web logs and all that, their performance of what is happening on their network, who is accessing what, all that information. There's no way you're going to tell me you're going to access that without actually, knowing the people inside that organization.
Yeah.
Trying to, send a message to one of the people and then clicks on a link or something like that, then they're able to access the information inside there.
Yeah.
That I still think is like the most effective method.
Okay. So
Yeah. So
email
yeah.
and
Or
malware.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if they get to know such information about your network, they will definitely now try to, come up with a plan for you. So
Yeah.
then they will start to now be like, okay, this is a potential vulnerability. So we could actually exploit that. So that's when now you start pulling out the tools. Okay, there's this new one now, like in this circumstance, MADI C2 Go, which is a new one. So you find they'll now start, using such to ensure that they're able to access your network. But before they had to do the necessary reconnaissance. Hacking, that's what they usually call it, reconnaissance. So you first do recon, then you now start coming up with these other solutions to actually hack someone.
Okay. So we know that you said earlier that this is a this group is a government type group. Um, you correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but you said it's a third group that is more government based. And what is the motive of this group? I know we have a lot going on in the Middle East with the current war between the Hamas and Israel. But is there any links to something like that, or well, what would we say is the motivation really primarily behind this attack?
Well, you notice Egypt and Hamas are not far apart in terms of geographical location. So there is a lot of Egypt inside Hamas, if I might say. You find that they are supporting the Hamas people. So these people are, it's kind of speculative, to be honest, when it comes to that, because they're like, you know what, these people are being attacked because of the war which is ongoing and because they're supporting one side. And yes, it's more speculative. So we have already really come up with the conclusion of whether it's actually true or false. But there are links to that war that people are like, that this is potentially the reason why this attack is actually happening is because these people are actually linked to the war which is ongoing in against Israel and Palestine.
The countries that have been targeted that you mentioned earlier, you said Tanzania, South Sudan, okay, Egypt, we've talked about, but these two, how would they? What would be the motivation behind these two countries? Do you think?
I think it's still in line with that. Perhaps the support But now the big question would be is are the rest safe? Because if they've tested the waters of one country and they are vulnerable, and the others they've had three specimens and they are effective now, what will happen to the rest of us? So that's the biggest question. So I think we have to now think of gearing up to make sure that when such a situation occurs, we are able to, ensure that our networks are safe. We are constantly ensuring that everything is working at par, and everyone is ensuring that when they see something like this, because now in one of the show notes, I placed there the indicators of compromise. You find the specific things you look out for, like maybe in the IP addresses which are connecting to you, in the the network, find out whether actually this attack is actually happening. So there's a lot to really look at to ensure that we keep ourselves safe. And since we know that they're in telcos, I don't think we should also be so comfortable that, if they're targeting telcos only. Remember, in African setting, we are dealing with telcos which are also connected to our banks, connected to many of the financial transactions nowadays happen in telcos, especially in Africa. So we have to take this seriously, because immediately because now you find people with banking apps on their phones, which is a normal thing. So now if someone compromises the telcos, just imagine the amount of money which would be lost, or how the economy will be affected by that. And yes, it really gives you a serious reason to actually take them serious. Because if you look at the footprint of telcos, it's really big. Because now with mobile money, meaning that someone in the village is able to access mobile payments. So, and that is the account people have. Instead of going to banks to create accounts, that is the way. And if you remember when we were talking about it in the FITSPA event, you found that people are going to do more of that ongoing in the future. So, so you find that is really key. Secondly, again, when it comes to telcos, remember, most of them act also as internet service providers. So if the fact that they're working as an internet service provider, meaning that there's a bit of tracking of, your what you're doing on the network. Though definitely they are not liable to, check your information or tell you what you're doing, but definitely there's a little bit of tracking ongoing. So yes, meaning that if they attack on a telco, they attack a telco, it will compromise your information which you are actually performing on that network. So it will be a very good one for a man in the middle attack, where someone is able to place themselves in the middle and actually get information of what you're actually doing in the network. So that's really a key thing for everyone to think about when it comes to this type of attack.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's really even the motive is not clear whether it's aligned to support of the war or not. So yeah, I think as you said, it's just because you're not a telco or whatever. I think we're always going to be vulnerable to any type of attack. So this is just one of them. and whatever their motive is, I don't think we can rule out being attacked by this. So as you said, it's really important that it's that we still continue to protect ourselves and not say, oh, I won't be affected just because. And I guess, as you said, it's also a recent attack, so we don't know enough about what it's about, and I'm sure there's more information will come to the will be unveiled once you know more about it. So I guess it's hard. I mean, I really was thinking hard about the motivation and then the war. It just doesn't seem to make sense. Um, how whether if it's a Iranian, then it's I thought the Iranians were aligned to the Hamas and all that. But anyway, I don't want to get into the politics because it sounds complicated. But ultimately, we just need to be sure that we're covering ourselves, covering all our bases, irrespective of our industry, irrespective of how we're aligned. Okay, so I think you said the team behind the team at Symantec. They're the ones who first discovered this. I think you said, yeah.
Yes.
And they were tracking this attack. I think I asked this before. Has there been any evidence of a compromise of what's been taken? Has data been leaked, or is there anything that is tangible that we know has been the impact of this recent attack?
Not as of yet, because if you read the reports, they're saying that there's no, there's no potential attack which has actually caused the problem. But again, if you look at the other report which Semantic made, they gave clear guidelines of what to check for. So there's definitely a little bit of, the problem is when an attack is still new, is they don't disclose a lot of information about it so much that it causes issues. So I guess we are still in that phase where there's not a lot of information. Another thing is that even the telco, which was affected a lot in Egypt, they have not disclosed their names or so much information about what is happening, because, it might affect business and all that. So yeah, we are still in that that situation where something has happened, but there's still more developments to the story. So we need to tread lightly when it comes to this. But according to Semantic, they still see that there's still an issue, and they're still diving into trying to figure out what was really collected out of the attack. Because according to them, there's definitely the attack happened, but to what extent and what information was gathered during this attack, that is yet to be determined.
Okay. So this is something that you picked up on, and you wanted to discuss this. Can I understand perhaps why you wanted to discuss this subject?
Well,
What made you pick this? What stood out for you in this?
well, with this story, it hits home, to be honest, because from our parents to our younger ones, you find that everyone is used telcos in different ways and they use it for different solutions. So when I saw this story, I felt like it's one of those key things which should not be really brushed off as of yet, because we don't know the extent of this potential breach. So, and the fact that it is still new, it's a good thing. You have already got to because most of the times it usually takes longer for information like this to be published. The fact that we now know about it, we now have to now work towards solving the issue. That's the reason why I chose it as a topic, because I felt the more people know about it, the more the solution will be formed. Because with these threat actors, they also have collaboration. So you never know how much they'll affect us in the near future. So if you also don't work to also fight them back, it may become a problem for us. The problem is most of the times when there's an issue, people always keep quiet about it. And it happens a lot, even in homes. Find that people will be silently struggling. But it's important for us to, communicate, be like, you know what, there's this and this type of attack which has actually occurred. And this is what I experienced. This is how they did it. And for you to stop it, make sure you implement these guardrails to ensure that we are not affected. And that's where communities come in. So setting up a community where we're able to discuss such things, and in a safe space where we don't feel like, it will be an issue in terms of competitive advantage. No, we are looking at it in a point of view that we are trying to fight a bigger enemy, and with a bigger enemy, you need all the resources you have locked and ready for such an attack. So that is one of the reasons why I chose it as a topic.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a collaborative approach is helps us all. And presumably that the semantic products are the ones that are able to detect this attack. Is that the case? Are there other products which have also started being able to do this?
Also, Cisco has made proper documentation about these attacks. So yeah, if you look at the Talos Intelligence, which is one of the Cisco products, right, they've given some detailed information about this particular threat actor. And yeah, remember, it's not a new threat actor, so people at least know what they do, how they behave, and that really helps with stopping such an attack.
Okay. As we wind up, anything else that you want to speak to us about relating to this?
Well, stay on guard, ensure that you go through the technical notes which I have shared in the show notes, where if you want to go into a deep dive into, ensuring that your organization is safe, then yes, keep following this story, because I believe this is just the beginning of the story and we don't know how far it is going to mature. So it is not these flashy, should I say, stories which is just supposed to scare you. It's a reality, and we need to, take it seriously. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was all the questions I had. Thank you.